Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. Folks, as you know, the month of February is Black History Month. Black History Month. And right up front, we are going to be doing something on an ongoing basis here in the month of February. In fact, we started 2 shows ago on Oregon Voters Digest, which you can Google. We had the Dupays on, both Teresa Dupay and Bob and Don Dupay. That was on, and Don is a former Portland policeman. And besides that, he had written a book, and the author and the editor, if you will, was his wife, Teresa Dupay. And here's the book, Behind the Badge in River City. Behind the Badge, a very unique book. You can pick it up at Powell Bookstore. That's the big aspect of it. But it was a very interesting read. It was a good read and whatever, and it lays it all out. Talks about his time in Portland Police and for Portland Police. And boy, I tell you, there was all kinds of goodies. But the thing about it is that he basically he did most of his police work in the Northeast Portland corridor in the black community, and he knows all the goodies. He knows where the bones were hidden and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah.
The whole police work aspect of it. So anyway, we started Black History Month with that piece, and then naturally with the whole issue of Memphis coming on that whole issue with police aspect of it. The idea is that I wanted to make sure on Oregon Voters Digest we were talking to Portland, to the Portland issue aspect of it. And so consequently, that's what we're going to be doing. In fact, today, we're going to do that today. We're going to do it with Bob Williams. Bob, who happens to have been a former union man, and I've been knowing him for quite some time. He's been very, very much involved in the state of Oregon. But again, too, he happens to be a black American, and right in front of which he's very familiar with the politics of Northeast Portland and the state of Oregon, for that matter. And he was always involved in the deal. In fact, you've seen him here on the Oregon Voters Digest for a number of years, and from that standpoint. And so we're going to talk to Bob, and we're going to talk about his background and his expertise, and from the standpoint of unionism. And as you note, just recently there was the reinstatement of Portland police officer, the chairman of that particular of the rep aspect. He was a rep, if you will, and he was reinstated on the Joanne Hardesty issue aspect of it. In fact, there was a lawsuit for about $5 million that she was suing the city, and one of the primary reasons for doing that was that of the whole issue of who leaked the sources to the media, and that was the chair of the union rep at the time. And we have a clipping of that, and we're gonna play that also too. By the way, but we won't do it right now. But anyway, I want to introduce Bob right now, and we're going to kind of get a little introduction with Bob, and he'll kind of give us a little background of what he was doing with the union, and he's a certified union man. Trust me, it wasn't that he was unionizing in Northeast Portland. No, he was unionizing in the state of Oregon and nationwide, for that matter. And I'd met him when he was at Safeway on the island, and he was a manager of the Safeway stores. So he's got quite a background and quite a history. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to say, Bob, how you doing?
Real good, Bruce.
Good,
glad to be here.
Good. Well, Bob, as you know, it's Black History Month, right. And in fact, that was history in itself when they basically appointed you the position that you were in. You were the only black that I knew of that was a union rep.
Well, for a long time. Before that, you mentioned Safeway.
Yes,
I was the only black assistant manager in the city of Portland, Vancouver, and out in a surrounding area. I think there was one other black person in the state of Oregon down towards Eugene somewhere.
Was that for Safeway?
That was at Safeway. So that's how bad the times have been for us.
Wow. Well, what year was that about?
Wow.
That was quite some time ago.
Yeah, because the older you get, the more you try to forget the bad things.
Well, you are. I don't fall in that arena. You and Fred. Fred's going to be on the next show, by the way. But anyway, okay, go on.
But yeah, so I left Safeway and became a union rep,
What union was that?
United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 555.
Okay, and it's still in existence.
It's still in existence, still representing Safeway, Fred Meyer, Albertsons, and there's a few other entities around the city and state.
And then you got this other job, right? Sort of a lobbyist group, so to speak, right? This other union, UFC, what was it?
No, I was on the ABC, as they call it, Active Ballot Club. Okay. We dealt into politics, and I ended up going to 4 Democratic conventions. Some of the guys went to the Republican convention.
Representing the union.
Making sure union ideas were were on the table.
Okay, that was an exciting job.
Oh, we enjoyed it.
I understand you even had the opportunity to get to see Mandela, didn't you?
I went to South Africa for Mandela's election. It was 125 union representatives and managers that were sent there, and we oversaw that election.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, Bob.
Tell me about it.
Well, now, let's bring it back home here, aspect of it. Now, what were some of the activities that you participated in here in the state of Oregon, and what were you doing? What was your job doing at that time?
Well, at one point I was and with the Active Ballot Club, we were and I was on the I'm trying to remember the name of the what they gave us, and they gave us a name where anyone that was running and wanted union support had to come and talk with us.
Oh, okay.
And we would vent them, and then we'd let them know if Local 555 supported them.
Okay, so monetarily wise,
financially, and in other means.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. Any highlighted things that you might remember that you thought was somewhat special during that time that you spent with that group?
Well, I remember in District Number 1, what was the gentleman's name? He ran. I can't. My memory is really getting bad. I have to have notes in front of me and everything else. But he ran for Congress from District Number 1, and
where's that area?
That's west side of Portland and parts of St. John and in that area. And he was running, and the union I wasn't getting the feel for him by the unions. So I had a meeting with him, and we talked, and he all of a sudden he began to see the light. Matter of fact, we were at the he was thinking of running, and we were in Chicago at the Democratic Convention. And we went up on the roof of the hotel, and he and I and one of his handlers, and we talked, and he began to understand what was expected of unions.
Right.
We don't try and run the company, because he had this idea. Well, the unions run the company. They want to get in, and then they run the company, and they want to tell everybody what to do. That's not what we do. We come in. We negotiate a contract so everybody that's working there know what the issues are and how to resolve them if there are issues that come up. The other thing is the union only want to make sure of wages, hours, and benefits. That's our primary goal. We negotiate for your wages, the hours that you're to work for your medical, dental, vision, your benefits. So all of that is what we do. And I began to explain to him how unions work, and he got an understanding. Matter of fact, the company that he was working for ended up going union. Is my understanding. So it was a lot of things that went on during that time, because there was a lot of people around that was spreading all types of hate as far as unions were concerned. And people out there didn't realize that the wages you get are based off union wages in most cases. How is that? They look at what the union worker is being paid, and they come in and they try and tweak it. And a perfect example of that was when companies, different food companies that are non-union, how did they stay non-union? They paid 10 cents, 15 cents more an hour, but they didn't. But you paid into your benefits. You had to come out of pocket when you went to the doctor. So, or they, so they got their money back plus some on the backside, and everybody was looking at the check, and they didn't realize that the other parts of that, they were suffering. They didn't have a pension plan. They had a 401k. Well, a 401k, you pay into it, so that's money off your check. Whereas we had a notified pension plan, which is the company says, okay, we pay this much. We have a package of how much you're going to make. They're going to pay. So they said, we're going to give, I'll just drop a small number, so much an hour. Of that, this amount you put into your pension. This amount you pay for your medical, and this amount you keep. Well, you don't feel anything because you know what you're getting, and you take that home. This other takes care of you and your family members.
But a 401k, that says a difference, right?
But the 401k says, we don't have a pension plan for you, but if you wanted a 401k, you have to pay for it. So you pay money into it.
Okay.
And then that money is sets up to where maybe it's on stock market or something of that nature, and if the stocks go up, you get money and things of this nature. So it's a lot of ways to beat you, and that's what the union is there for, to make sure that you given the one thing that you can never get back, which is your time, that you get paid for it. And so that's what we did.
And then the other major thing, I guess, that comes to mind is that the whole idea of representation. If you get hurt on the job, or this, that, and the other, who represents them?
Well, if you get hurt on the job, you have a medical plan that takes care of it. There's sections in the contract that explains what goes on, i.e., after 3 days of being absent from the job, maybe, or a week, you have to come back. You want to come back to work, you have to have a doctor's note, something of that nature. The other is,
What about legal representation?
Most unions don't get involved in legal representation.
Okay.
Certain unions do, like your police union. They have some type of legal representation there.
Okay.
Now we go through a totally different process. There's a public, and then there's what is it called? I'm really showing my age because I can't even remember the two different types of unions.
Right.
But I was a public. It's a public employees union, and then there's the private unions, which do things that's not dealing with government entities and things of that nature.
Well, you were doing public or private?
I was more so the private side.
Sam Gillespie, remember that was Sam?
Sam and I are very good friends.
Okay, so Sam was one. He was basically more.
He started out on the public because he was asked me.
Okay,
and then he left, went to
the city.
He went to Ohio, Wisconsin, or somewhere.
Right.
Came back, and he ended up working with me at 555.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Well, wasn't he representing the city or something?
He worked.
Was that Acme or?
Asked me. That's when he was.
That's how I met him.
Yeah.
And I met him down at the legislature. Yeah. Okay. Good.
He was a strong union.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. He became.
Very articulate.
I remember he ran for school board out.
Yeah, and he won. He won that piece. Yeah, he won that piece.
I worked on his campaign.
I talked to him every so often.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sam is good. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good background, and it's very, very important. I just want to make sure that the viewing audience knew that you had the background, if you will, to talk to the issues of unionism.
Sure.
And it wasn't just a Northeast corridor piece.
No.
For black folks. It was.
I went to some places on some strikes. I went on some strikes, on some union organizing, working with other people and things of this nature. Went to a lot of places. I was shocked when I got to South Africa on the Mandela election.
Okay.
Because the union there was back in Mandela.
Okay.
It was things that we in America don't understand about the politics in South Africa, which was very strong. And the union, while I was there, they pulled all their people off the job, at a mine, and when the union said go, nobody works. That's the difference in America, where everybody have rights. So when the union if the union strikes, everybody don't have to strike. Some people can cross the picket line.
Okay.
But what happens is once
You mean like here?
like here, and like when
South Africa's a different ball game.
totally different ball game.
They all go.
Everybody's
all.
They're everybody.
Okay, so I'm thinking what comes to mind is that the city now is going through a situation right now. City of Portland, right? You got me? And you got a union situation, right? And that's a kind of interesting piece.
And some of those guys across the picket line, because hey, you look at your household and you said, I can't afford it. I can't afford to go out on strike.
Right.
Well, that hurts trying to get what you want. The union come in with an idea of what you want, but then they have a committee that tells them what you want, because they've kind of talked to the people and everybody's in agreement as to why and what they want. And so when you reach impasse, then the workers representative, which is the union representative, gives you a date certain that, hey, if we don't have anything done by this day,
and why,
but people are not going to show up for work. And so you try not to get there. Because there's the old saying, one day off, 1 week before you go back. 1 week off, it could be 3 weeks to a month before you get back. And then a month off, you're looking at, you hope you get somewhere in between it, but 2 months.
So how do they survive during that time? The union workers.
Some unions have, I don't want to call it a slush fund, but from your union dues, portion of it goes into a pot where if you go out on strike, you get a stipend because you're picketing. And it's not as much as you'd make on the job.
But you're getting something.
But you're getting something.
Basic stuff, right?
Right. But then they have food banks and other entities that come in and help you
out.
Right.
Okay.
But your landlord, he wants his. And I've seen some people that's out on strike end up losing their apartments and things of this nature.
Well, what about the city of Portland? It's happening right now. You got me? And it's my understanding the mayor he speaks, if you will, naturally for us, the voter.
Well, I know, I'm not going to give him up, but I know the guy that's sitting at the table that does the negotiating for the city side.
Okay.
And as he said some things to me, that I went, what? And he goes,
Is he the union guy?
No, he's the other side.
Okay, he's the other side. He's the city of Portland.
I'm retired now,
Okay,
so I can talk to both sides.
Yeah, I got you.
And so he was talking to me, and he was saying, I don't understand why the union is taking these people out on strike because of this, and this. Which I'm not at liberty to talk about.
Well, obviously the media said wages,
hours, and benefits.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think of how to put this so that, because my blood does bleed a little and even though I've also worked on the management side of things, but it's sometimes you look at things and you go, why are they? But you don't really know their side. So speaking on it wouldn't be right for me not to speak against the union or for management, even though he was asking me some opinions and things of this nature. I'm not going to give him enough opinions to go against the union, but I'm going to give him, I told him my side of what I thought.
Right.
And so they're now negotiating today, as a matter of fact, trying to get this settled, because it doesn't help anyone. Number one, you can't do the services to your public if those people are not on the job. And number two, I remember when I was on the board of directors of TriMet, and the company that we were getting the rails from went on strike. but they instantly hired other people.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't getting rail from here simply because it's an inferior product. You know, you got people coming in, all they want to make is the money.
Yeah, right.
They don't have this company.
Right.
And so you end up, 5 years from now, you find out that rail had holes
Yeah.
in it somewhere, and it didn't show up, and that train constantly shaking it, and you're getting breaking rails. You know, we weren't going there, so we went elsewhere to get the product. That ended up making that strike be a short strike.
Okay.
The public, when the public gets involved and don't cross that picket line or support those workers, it's a benefit to the public in many cases. You know, those workers appreciate that.
Okay.
You know, and that's what's going on over there today.
Okay.
You know, I mean, of course, management is going to send out bad signals because you're hurting us, and now if one person does something, stand in front of a car, they're going to blow it up.
Actually.
If
Well, the media is very much involved in the process.
oh yeah,
So media can either go with management or they can go with the union.
Yes,
it depends.
and the union don't pay.
Who's picking the ads, right?
That's right. That's what I was getting ready to say. The union don't pay for ads. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, we can go on and on for this, but I wanted to make sure that the viewing audience know that we understand what the deal is about the union piece.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very important piece aspect of it. And you also mentioned that at one point in time you were on the TriMet board, the board of directors, and a lot of times you will have access to that because of what you were doing for the union, right?
Right. Well, I was on the TriMet board because I was appointed by the governor.
Okay.
He had to be.
Who was the governor at that time? Was that Vic?
Well, it was
Atia?
Kitshopper first, and then Atia. I'm not Atia. Kulingowski.
Kulingowski, yeah.
Yeah. And Ted Kulingowski. He used to be the lawyer for our union.
Yeah.
So when he became governor, he had left that. He had left the law side. He was Supreme Court.
Right.
And then he left that. Ran for governor.
State Supreme Court. Right.
Yeah. He ran for governor, and
right.
when he got there and he saw that I was on the board, he wouldn't let me off.
Right.
You know, and so we had some good
So it was quite an
time.
experience.
It was
You got the background.
Thank you.
You've been doing this for quite some time, and then in fact that's why I recruited you. You see me? You had to have background to come here on the Oregon Voters Digest.
Hey.
See what I'm saying?
I was doing this long before I started doing that. I started that when I became black. What was I? The chair of the Black Caucus. When we put that Democratic Black Caucus, when we put that together.
Oh yeah, I got you. So you're very much involved.
Oh yeah.
In politics and stuff too, man. Well, look, this has been good. Now we got about another 35 minutes here now, and so I want to talk about another historical event aspect of it, and that is the fact that, like I said, we wanted to naturally. We're here in Oregon, right? Mm-hmm. And naturally, there's some heavy stuff historically back in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes.
I mean, boy, when that flash went out there with 5 black men, police officers, boy, that was historical.
Yes.
But in all due respect, unlike myself, the way I reacted to it, I mean, we still got this much time before we understand what's really going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the kids, it's not just a black thing. It's black, white. It's law enforcement aspect of it.
And that's it. You know, one of the things that
Public safety.
we as people have a tendency to do is try to imitate
Right.
or or do what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always told my sons, number one, when you walk in the room, the first thing they see is that you're black.
Right.
I said, so if your friends that you're hanging out with are white,
Right.
and you come in there and try to do something like the white guy did, this might go be accepted.
It's not going to be accepted. No, no.
You don't get the same privilege.
That's right.
I said, so these cops, police officers in Memphis, thought that they could get away with what other white police have gotten away with.
Right.
Is the way I look at it. Plus, number one, they're policing their own in their own neighborhood.
Bob, let's forget that. Let's not go too far.
Okay.
In all due respect, they're still investigating. We really don't know what the real nature of the piece is. See, because like you said, first it was that push with just the black folks, but then all these other entities are coming in.
Yeah,
And
all of a sudden it's
so
9 people.
Right.
That's been suspended.
And then they're not just black; they're whites and all that.
Right.
So I'm saying that maybe that is somewhat progressive because we need to make sure we know what the whole picture is.
Sure.
And I want us to have that discussion then, as opposed to putting some things with folks who are sitting up here watching the tube, because we've got the kind of background such that we don't fall prey
We don't
to the
fall into
racism
the
and all
pit.
that other. No, we don't
Right.
fall in that pit.
Right.
So we don't want to give them something that keeps them in that deal, so that when we have this other discussion, they've turned it off.
Right.
You know my point? So
Well,
let's just kind of.
Okay, it's only one thing is that someone in that group should have said no.
Yeah,
That's
but-
all.
but okay, the one we keep it there.
That's
and
it.
then we'll visit this piece
I know we
later at
will.
another point. But the concept in terms of what happened there, we've got a similar situation here, and the point that we're talking about is the fact that the whole issue of law enforcement is an issue nationwide.
Right.
Every state in the union aspect of it. And we have our issue here on Oregon, got me?
Right.
And when I say that, and then some things have happened, again, historical point aspect of it. One, we had the first black woman, and that was Joanne Hardesty, that was elected to the city council.
Right.
And part of her background was the fact she was dealing with law enforcement as a result of the Ministerial Alliance, right? I mean, she was a lobbyist for them, and she was the only one that was sitting on city council that had that kind of background.
Right.
And she basically, and in all due respect, we talked about this to a certain degree, that we figured that, well, gee whiz, maybe she might be able to get that task, if you will, of being the commissioner that deals with the police department. But my point is that because she had the resume, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at the personality aspect of it. I'm looking at the folks that are on there,
Right.
including the mayor. And so, but the bottom line is that a lot of times the mayor just kind of keeps that position anyway, the cop deal, and that's what he did. He kept it. But now this time around, we've got a police commissioner now. His name is Rene Gonzalez. Rene is the police commissioner,
What's his background?
Well, that's it. Lawyer. He's the communicator. You know, he's a communicator. But he's a very interesting guy, and that's what he's doing. But then at the same time, that still hasn't fully transitioned yet. But he is the designated public safety person that's dealing with the police piece, and he was endorsed by Portland Police when he was running for office aspect of it. But we still have a person sitting in the chair now, differently. Now the Mayor Wheeler
Gave it up.
He was the police commissioner. Now, on this issue, with reference to the Joanne Hardesty deal, the reason why I brought that piece up was that police was involved with this whole issue with her,
Right.
and as a result
And
of
false
that,
information getting out
right.
there.
And then all of a sudden there was a lawsuit there too, about $5 million in it.
Right.
And I was asking that question some time ago, but we haven't got it. But now the $5 million is coming onto the table. Taxpayers' money was going to be paying that.
That's right.
Whoever it is, you know what I'm saying? So the name of the game now is that it was said. In fact, what we'll do. We'll do a clip at this point in time, so that we won't go so further, so the people out there and the viewing audience will see what we're talking about with reference to that piece. Okay. Now let's see if we can get Steve to run that clip, the clip on the news clip on this whole issue about the reinstatement of the police officer who basically leaked that to the press, who happened to have been the chair of the union rep. He was the union rep for the police. Okay. Can we get there? We go.
The Portland police officer fired for leaking false information about former Commissioner Joanne Hardesty has been reinstated to the force. An arbitrator ruled while Brian Hunziker should be held accountable for the misconduct, it did not warrant being fired. Hunziker had been the Portland Police Union president. Back in 2021, a woman reported to police that Commissioner Hardesty had been involved in a hit-and-run crash. Now, investigators quickly determined that it was not her, but before that happened, Hunziker leaked Hardesty's name to the media. Mayor Ted Wheeler fired him, saying he violated policy, and that leak was retaliation over the tensions between Hardesty and the police bureau at the time. Now, Hunziker argued he made an isolated mistake and it wasn't personal. Now, the arbitrator now overruling the mayor, instead imposing a 1-week unpaid suspension with back pay as well. We talked to the current police union president, who likened the original firing to cancel culture.
Where someone does something that we don't like, finding ways, right, to hold them accountable, but do it in a way that doesn't, just permanently destroy an individual. Because when you think about it, in very rare cases, if someone does engage in misconduct that's so significant that they have to go to prison or they have to kind of be removed more significantly, they lose their job, those things are important, and they're also very rare. In almost all other cases, in every single place in our society, the outcome is not that severe. So how do we ensure that that individual and the system can continue to function together?
Well, Hunziker is not commenting. It is unclear if he plans to return to his job. Wheeler said in part in a statement that he stands by his decision, but also respects the legal process.
Okay. And first I want to thank...
the Portland police officer fired for illegal...
Okay. So we've got that. Okay. Thanks very much, Steve. Okay, good. Now, I want to make sure that we understand. By the way, we want to thank Channel 12. Mm-hmm. Channel 12 for being able to do this piece. We want to make sure we give them credit. Right. And they do quite a job. And in fact, I've looked at all of them, and they did a more complete job. And hopefully that the public will understand that. And it was kind of like short. And realistically, I didn't see too much of that in the Oregonian and all the rest of the media.
Hey, we didn't. I don't think we got it in Clackamas.
You understand me? And normally, if anybody would know, you'd know.
Yes.
And I just so happened to be. I was just looking at it late night, and I happened to pick it up, and so. But it's a very important piece, because if in fact we're going to basically get, as one would say, law enforcement back to the table from a respectful standpoint, we got to discuss this thing because there was already an issue on the Joanne Hardesty piece anyway.
Right.
You got me? And she just went through that election with Rene Gonzalez. And if he's going to be able to do his job, there was another problem there. So we got to resolve some of these jobs. And the police, as far as police is concerned, there has been that concern about who runs the police department, because the chief is under the mayor's situation. Right. Got me? And where we come from it's paramilitary. The commanding officer is the cat at the top.
That's right.
And he's sitting away, and then you got a union rep that's basically kind of like he's kind of like acting as the chief.
That's right.
And so, but that's confusion. Now we know basically what's going down, but the fact of the matter is the public doesn't know that that's happening that way. And so it's important that we sort of like spend some time to educate the public about this whole piece. So, okay, now, you ready to respond?
Sure. Well, what this piece shows is the union at work.
The union at work, okay.
Because he was a union member, okay, and they represented him because he lost his job.
Okay.
And so in losing his job, there's certain steps that you go through. You try to settle it one-on-one. That's the union and management or representative. You don't settle it there. You're number two. You can go to arbitration, where you pick two and the union picks.
Yeah, arbitration. Let's talk about that. The arbitrator, right? Yeah.
Right.
Well, who hires the arbitrator?
Okay. Well, when they took it to the arbitrator, normally the way
who brought the arbitrator? Who made the deal?
The decision.
The decision to get the arbitrator at the table to deal with this issue.
They couldn't come. They were at impasse. The city and the union was at impasse. Okay. So they go out to get an arbitrator.
Who did?
Now here's how they normally do it.
The city do that?
Normally neither one. They get a listing of arbitrators, and then they strike arbitrators from that list, and one is left.
No, but I'm agreeing with you. But I'm just saying, who brought this idea that you need to get to an arbitrator? Well, a lot of times, from a lay standpoint, you go to court.
Well, no, this is a union issue.
This is a union issue.
This is a union issue. This is not a civil issue.
Okay, so that was under the contract when the city signed on the whole.
You go there first.
Right. Okay.
And so they did that, and so to get an arbitrator, they get a list from the arbitration board of arbitrators, and they strike guys off of it.
Both of them.
And one strikes one, the other one strikes one, until they come down to this one guy that's left. And this arbitrator that was left ruled in. He kind of did what what I can't remember who it was in the Bible said, okay, we'll cut the baby in half.
Okay.
He didn't cut it in half, but he did take an arm.
Okay.
You get a week's suspension without pay.
Right.
But you also, I don't know how long this guy's been off.
A year, over a year.
Over a year.
He got a
so
year's
the other
pay.
51 months, he's 51
fully
weeks.
paid.
He's fully paid. That means
Wow.
they pay his pension, whatever wasn't paid into his pension, whatever wasn't paid into his health care,
Wow.
whatever wasn't paid on his salary. He gets all that money.
So he picked up maybe about $100,000.
Whatever his salary is, that's what he got.
He got that
except
money.
for 1 week.
Except for 1 week. Wow. Wow.
That's it.
Well, now,
And-
can they, well, then they'd have to, like to get the arbitrator. And I noticed that the Mayor Wheeler,
He don't
signed off on it.
arbitrate. He don't sign off on anything.
Once the arbitrator makes that
That's
decision.
a decision.
That's a decision.
Yeah.
Now, is there any? I understand the taxpayers paying that money.
Sure.
The mayor ain't doing this.
Yeah.
The taxpayers. So the taxpayers saying, "Wait a minute, I don't feel comfortable with that." Is there any recourse?
I don't know what their contract allows, but in some cases you can go to court. You can file a civil. You can go civil.
Yeah, right. Okay.
If he had lost, he'd have probably went to court.
And will the union pay for that?
In some cases they do.
If that's in the contract.
If it's in in some cases they do, and in some cases they don't.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So it's it all depends on what's in the contract or what's past practice.
Okay. Okay.
Past practice pays a lot for union members.
Okay. Okay.
And if they don't know the rules, they can get stung.
But then again, that's why I'm saying we're doing this a little bit more in depth because it's the taxpayers that's paying for this stuff, and the taxpayer right up front with it gets caught up in the issue. The word racism comes in, this comes in, and this comes in, and here we go again. Police is running the whole darn deal. How do you resolve that? So we're trying to figure out. Again, talking about the word reforming has been coming up to the table, and so it would be a good idea that both the police and the city understand that. Look, I think to get the police back to the table in a very positive manner, they make sure that the citizens understand what's going on. That's why we're having the discussion.
So here's the thing that you have to understand.
Okay.
That in many cases, the contract that you sign, the company signs. They don't. In the past, it's a little different today. But in the past, and some of these contracts are still carrying a lot of old language and a lot of things in there. Long ago, there could have been a passage in a contract that says, "We will meet to discuss the issue and try to resolve it." And if we don't, then we can have a joint conference board, which consists of you getting two of your friends, I get two of my friends to come, and we present our case, and then they vote yes or no.
Okay.
And if that don't work, then we go to arbitration. And so all of this costs somebody some money.
Right.
And so in many cases, in some cases, it's the arbitrator's got to get paid. So who pays the arbitrator?
Who does that?
In some of these contracts, it say loser pays.
Really? Like the city.
You'd have to read the contract to see. And but
The
it said
loser pays.
Loser pays.
Well, see, the losers is the citizens.
They pay.
We pay.
Yeah. And so what the citizens don't think about is the fact that somebody else had to take that guy's job.
Right.
And they've been working, getting paid for doing the job.
Like the one that's
and
sitting there now.
That was sitting there when he was let go.
Right.
So for that 11 months, he made the money. Now, this guy's got to be paid for that 11 months, so you're paying double.
Well, now when he comes back, does he get his job back?
Well, that's going to be a thing that the union will decide.
The union, you say union, what do you mean?
Because he was a union rep.
Right.
And so the union will decide that, not the
That's
city.
the overall union.
The city,
the
city
whole
don't-
body of the police department?
They could have an election for it,
Okay.
or the other guy could step down and put him back in there.
Okay.
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 It all depends.
Well, now let's talk about this other. Now there was a standing lawsuit, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Now what happens with that piece?
Well, that has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, but my
That's
point,
something else.
Okay.
That's civil.
Yeah, but my point is that But my point is that if the person, let's say Joanne Hardesty, is suing the city, but the principal for the suit is the
He's still
rep.
he's still in that lawsuit.
Okay, so he would still be in that lawsuit.
Right. And since the arbitrator only took a portion of it in his favor, if I'm the city, I'm trying to negotiate with Joanne to cut this down.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Because if you take it to trial, you don't know what you're going to get once you go to trial. You know, the judge, especially if you got a jury, you know, because somebody could be there that liked Joanne and thought she did a good job when she was,
right.
you know.
Right.
So, and somebody's there that hate the police.
So it's still at the table.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, with the citizens' law, what
citizens,
the taxpayers saw was the fact that the mayor said, "Hey, that's it then, as far as I'm concerned." But he was representing.
Once they took it to the arbitrator, and the arbitrator ruled.
Right. But the way it was laid out on the tube in the media was as if to say, "Well, there's no case now." You know what I'm saying? In the mindset with a lot of the taxpayers.
Well, there's no case with him and his job.
No, but I'm still saying the money's still on the table. I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
As far as the
you
lawsuit.
talking about Joanne's side?
Right.
That had nothing to do with Joanne's side. That issue is still out there.
Somebody's got to pay.
Or she'll lose.
Oh, she'll lose the whole deal. But I'm not saying perception-wise, the way it was kind of like laid out, as if, well, we don't have to worry
It
about
gives you the impression that everything's solved.
Everything is solved.
Resolved.
And that's not the case.
No.
Wow. Well, anyway, you're getting it, folks. You understand where we're coming from here, and I think it's very, very important that we do this piece. But at the same time, there's some other little caveats there, aspect to it too, to a certain degree, because the law enforcement, if you will, is still an issue, because there's a problem still.
Yeah.
You know, with the deal. And so, how do they deal? How can they deal from the standpoint of communicating to the public that they are, you know?
They've been communicating to the public since when I got here, and they had the possum incident.
Possum, yeah, very much involved.
When they choke them, not smoke them.
Yep.
You know, all of that. They've been communicating with the public ever since then. And every time something happened with the police, they communicate, but nothing is done. And so it's the same old. It's the same.
So
old
how does
thing.
The public get that point? That
You got to look at who you're electing, because right now Gonzalez can make some changes.
Yeah.
The police might not like it and want to go out on strike to prevent it.
Right.
You know, but the public has to stand behind him.
Right.
You know.
Well, evidently the public is behind, because he got elected by the public.
Well, did he get elected because they were behind him, or they just felt Joanne needed to go?
Well, but I'm still saying
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm still saying
you can have two bad choices.
Yeah.
You can have two bad choices,
Yeah, right.
and one of them is going to become a winner. You know, and so these are the things that you have to look at. But the public all they want is someone that's going to protect and serve, not beat up on us because we black, or beat up or treat us different because of where we live.
On the homeless.
Yeah, or the homeless. Or I was downtown because of my church. We go down at Christmas time and we give out socks and scarves and jackets and caps to the homeless out there downtown.
Right.
We get to one section of downtown and there's a police officer parked there. This tripped me out. He's parked there, and we're headed over to these tents over behind the gas station. And this officer, we said, "How you doing, officer?" He looked at us kind of funny and said, "Oh no, we're just here to give out some hats and gloves, keep them out of the cold, and you know, something to protect them from the rain." He goes, "Oh, they're tweakers over there. You know, we just kind of keep an eye on them, but they're just tweaking. They ain't gonna need your stuff."
What's tweaking? What do you mean?
They're doing drugs.
Huh.
I don't even know how to pronounce the word, opioids, or whatever it is.
Okay.
They're doing that. And so say, but I'll keep an eye on you as you go. So I'm 6'5", 220 something. I think I can protect myself. I had big guys with me. And so we walk over. Sure enough, there was about 7 or 8 people over there. And the first thing they asked us for was money. You know, as we were walking there, the smell from burning
Crack or whatever.
crack and all that other stuff. It's just there. It's a totally different smell. And so I look back and go, the police know that they're doing that. Portland has become a drug-infested city. They've passed laws that say you can have drugs. We don't want to waste our time with you. But what about me, Johnny Citizen? I have to waste my time with them when they come trying to break into my house or steal our things out of my yard or break into my car, and nobody want to come and look at and take a look at that. The citizens has to get involved, not yell and scream, but do but negotiate. Hey, you guys want more pay? We want you to do the job better. You want better health care? We want you to do the job better.
And can they tell the union? Will the union rep?
They don't have to tell the union. They need to go to Gonzales. They need to go to their mayor and to the rest of their city council. Walk in there and during this public forum, tell them the police force is not doing their job to our expectations. They're still treating XYZ in this manner, and as they don't do XYZ over here. You know, and explain it. Because when you have a police force and most of them don't live in your city, you got a problem. You know, I would love for someone to go down and check and tell them, say, we want to see the contract. How many citizens have ever seen the union contract?
Well, that's why we're having the show.
Yeah. What is Gonzalez? He might be a lawyer, but what is his experience in negotiating contracts?
Has he seen the contract?
Yeah. Has he negotiated a contract before? Just because you're a lawyer don't mean you're good at negotiations. You know, unions love the fact that you can size up your opponent in a split second in most cases. You know, and that's how I became a union rep, because I was in management and stepped down and became a worker. The union saw me, they instantly grabbed me and said, "You're gonna be on the negotiating committee." And while on the negotiating committee, one of the management guys went off on how much money was left after he bought the product, paid all his bills and everything, and how much we were fighting for. And I laughed. And I said to the president, because normally that board, you're not supposed to speak, I said, I have to take this one. And he let me, simply knew that I was just out of management. I went in my pocket, because he had brought out a roll of pennies. And I went in my pocket and I brought out dollars and quarters and everything else. And I told him, I said, let me explain to you what we see on this side. This might be the person that walk in the door. But when they go and bring their mom, their dad, their brothers, their sisters, neighbors, it becomes this. Then I picked up the wad of dollar bills and this. I say, so you can keep this little thing, take care of that one, but when all those others come in, we want our fair share of this.
I see.
You know, and from there, they took a recess and we got a contract, and I got hired as a union rep. You know, so that's
good. But my point is that this is good to know. See,
right.
Because a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
And they don't really understand their presence at the table, because they're paying the bill.
Right.
The public pays the bill.
Right.
You got me? And these folks who are elected, if you will, are representing them. But it seems but again, like I said, that needs to be sort of tuned up a bit.
And see what the public don't understand is that in a lot of cases, if you have inept representation on your side,
right.
That's why these guys over here is doing so much and getting so much.
Yep.
You know, i.e., you can't fire me. I.e., if I take, we can have a walkout, all of us won't go. Well, you're paying them as they walking out. What kind of crap is that? I mean, I can look. I would love to look at that contract and see what's in there.
Well, let's see if we can get
And
it.
I'm not talking bad about them because
no,
I say when
no.
you negotiate, you get what you can
no,
get.
No, my point is that you're right. From a historical standpoint, that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
black history. And by the way, when you were talking about this incident that you were into, Virginia, it wasn't a bunch of black folks.
No, no, it
It
was.
was just people, you know what I'm saying, right across the board.
That's right.
But the bottom line is that we're just trying to get to a point where we got law enforcement. They doing that job,
Right.
if you will. And because the other big thing with this whole piece is the fear factor. A lot of folks, public-wise, are fearful to make a point to say anything.
Sure.
But they have the opportunity. They got that vote.
Well, here's the other thing is when law enforcement, when law enforcement gets involved in the politics, you got a problem.
Yeah.
I've always asked the question because I was a history buff and I majored in history in college, and it says that separation of church and state.
Right.
Well, the reason they separated the church is because they were getting things free. Okay, and so they kind of separated them out of the politics.
Right. Right.
You can't make the rules and receive everything from the rules. And so you look at law enforcement, and what are they doing?
Yeah.
If they're in politics, they're making the rules and they're receiving from the rules. And when you begin to do that, the people suffer.
Yeah. And they react different kinds of ways.
Oh yeah.
If you will. They disrespect, if you will, those officers and this, that, and the other. So now the deterrent factor of wearing a uniform becomes an issue.
And it doesn't matter whether you're
don't mean it.
black, white, green, yellow, or
That's
blue.
right. That's right. That's right.
It's the uniform.
That's right.
And I have to say this. That's the same thing that happened in Memphis. It's the
Right.
uniform.
That's right. It's the uniform aspect of it. And like I said, when I saw the visual, in all due respect, when that first thing with Memphis happened, and then all of a sudden I saw this young man in the bed aspect of it, the first thing I thought about was a gentleman way back down south. What was it? The
Emmett Till?
Emmett Till.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I thought about. Got me?
It's amazing how it comes back,
It just automatically just came back, and then like I said, and then the other thing I thought about, because here I am, I'm paramilitary, and I understand what that uniform is all about. That's why we wore uniform.
That's right.
Because it was a deterrent factor that helped us with getting to the enemy aspect of it.
Right.
But the bottom line is that now it's an issue, and when I saw the officers. And when I looked at the union rep piece aspect of it, I mean, I didn't see them in no uniform. You see, I looked at it and said, wait a minute. They got the deal, and they got an imaginary badge up
Is
there.
that here?
Yeah, for the Portland Police. And I saw both of the rep. I was saying, wait a minute. We paid, taxpayers paid to get him trained. He's an officer, and I want that deterrent. So from the standpoint of marketing and PR, it just makes good sense, if you will. If he had that uniform on, I know I got an extra officer there too. So
Well, remember when we were
we
growing
got about
up?
5 minutes. Keep
Okay,
going.
when we were growing up, officers walked the beat.
Yeah.
And
In uniform.
So they got to know us.
That's
They
right.
knew who the bad kid was.
Right.
They knew who the kids
Right.
whose parents they could knock on the door
right,
and talk
right,
to.
right.
Today, all of you are considered bad.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
If you're around the group,
But
you're
Bob,
bad.
but maybe spend a minute. You can tell me, why can't they wear a uniform? If we demand that they wear a uniform, could that happen if we did it in the contract?
Well, it all depends on what the situation is. If they're off work, you can't make them wear a uniform.
No, but I'm talking about from a public relations standpoint.
Well,
I'm
they,
just saying,
they should.
just wear a uniform, because if they wear a uniform, because I'm trying to get them to understand what that uniform means.
But when you become the union rep
Right.
and you're dealing with a union issue,
Right.
You're not dealing with as a police officer.
Right. So they shouldn't be
They
doing
shouldn't
it.
be-
They should not. It should be the lead person. We got a chief of police.
Right.
That's who should
Lavelle
be the
wears
spokesman.
his uniform. I've never seen him without
That's
it. I
right.
wonder what he looked like in street clothes.
Yeah, but my point is that he is the chief of police.
Right.
But he's not with his troops.
Well, I don't know that, because the union
That's all you see.
in Portland, all you see
It's just the union.
is the union spokesperson.
That's right. That's right.
and you don't even see city leaders
That's right.
talking about
No,
the issue.
no.
The city leaders represent the people.
Yeah.
You know, it's strange.
Well, hopefully we might be able to get due respect, we get this, and hopefully the union rep who's there now, regardless, as far as I'm concerned, he's being reinstated. I'd like to see if we can come to the table and talk. You know what I mean? We can talk. Maybe over a cup of coffee to start with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want to try to embarrass anyone.
And that's it. We want to know the issues.
We want to know
We want to know the facts.
And what can we do to help get this back to the table?
Right.
Because people want law enforcement within their communities and across the board. We need public safety, big time.
They really lost the police with defund the police.
Yes.
That was not a defund the police. That was take certain things out of their out of their basket and put it somewhere else, and the funds with it.
Right.
And so everybody, a lot of people that didn't know took it the wrong way.
Yeah, they sure did. Because even when they made the defunding and then they put it on this black person, Joanne Hardison, she's only one vote. So there were 3 votes, not just 1 vote, and it was so easy to get into the race thing.
Right. And
That
see,
didn't help the situation out at all.
and that was it. I looked at downtown Portland when they were tearing up downtown Portland.
Right.
I didn't see very many black people down there.
Yeah, that's right.
But I saw Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
getting reamed for it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm like, man, what
Race
does it take?
is another people. In fact, right up front,
We're gonna have to talk about that.
Yeah, let's have another conversation
On
where we can
race.
just talk about the whole issue of race.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm talking to Donna Maxey.
Oh.
She does a piece called Race Talk.
Yeah.
That's right. She does a good job, and I'm trying to see whether or not I can get her on.
Yeah,
or if
she was
not-
on with us one time.
Yes,
I
we did.
remember that.
Yes, and so we see if we can get Donna to be a part of it, and maybe they might be able to do a kind of a gathering, if you will, to talk about race, because it's not just when she has race talk. I mean, she's talking to the total community.
That's right.
But when you say race, automatically it's black.
Right.
You see what I mean? And we need to kind of spend some time. So Donna is very articulate, and so we'll have her on, and we'll go on and do that race, and we can do this during this particular February.
It's something that I learned when I was in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela said to all the people in the stadium,
Real quick.
"We're not black South Africans. We're not white South Africans. We are South Africans."
Right. Like Americans.
Yeah. Stop being, when you talk about me, call my name Bob.
That's right.
Or Robert.
That's right.
And leave it at that.
Yes.
You don't have to, Black Bob.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that is an issue.
Yes.
Well, look here. We got about a minute. We got about a minute here left, and this has been very enjoyable. Again, this is Black History Month,
Right.
and that's what we're talking about. We're
It.
talking about Black history aspect of it. So please share this show with your friends. You can get this. You can Google this on YouTube. You can Google this on YouTube once it's out. Excuse me. Oh, boy.
Bless you.
Get a little smile. Excuse me, for a moment. But anyway, share it with your friend and have these conversations. Excuse me. Again, everything's good though.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So look here. Take care, folks, and have a good one. And we'll see you next week. And we'll be having Fred Stewart on talking about real estate. How about that? And where's the money going? and how much real estate do we have left? And are the people who are representing us actually knowing what they're doing? Because people have problems with where's the money going to? And then we got individuals who are Americans out there trying to figure out, well, what? We're very familiar with the fact we've been paying the bills, right? But anyway, as you can see, we're going to have something. So tune in next week, and you'll see Fred Stewart. Take care. Bye.